When I was 13, on the cusp of manhood, my friend Dave and I fought a mighty serpent with bared fangs and dripping venom out in the middle of nowhere, all by ourselves. But I'm getting ahead of myself. In the spring of that year, in the densely forested northern rim of the Missouri Ozarks, it was exceptionally warm and fertile. It was a good year for snakes, poisonous copperhead snakes in particular. They bred prolifically. The snake population exploded. Yet strangely, the food population of rodents and the like did not expand. I don't know why. But not enough food to go around meant that the snakes were hungry. Enter me and my friend Dave and our Methodist Church youth group on a weekend retreat at the Blue Mountain Church Camp located in the densely forested northern rim of the Missouri Ozarks, smack dab in the middle of copperhead snake country. There we were, a bunch of suburban St. Louis middle schoolers and our adult chaperones, out in the woods for a Friday night to Sunday noon spiritual retreat. Spiritual retreat, middle schoolers, yeah, right. It was designed mainly to give our parents a break for the weekend. Basically, we got to eat a lot of hot dogs and Hershey bars and canoe and swim in the lake and hike around, play softball, card games, Monopoly. Quaint, right? Well, and yeah, once or twice during the weekend, we had to get together and sing songs and play trust games. You know, trust games. The kind of activity where you're supposed to close your eyes and fall backwards into the arms of your friends, and they're supposed to catch you. And you bond. Well, during the game, I wasn't caught, per se, but my fall was fortunately broken well enough to keep me from hitting the ground at the full force of gravity, and thus I established about a 47% level of trust with my peers. The lodge where we stayed had electricity and indoor plumbing, but that was about it. We didn't even have a phone, a traditional landline. The nearest telephone was miles away. So there were about 50 of us kids and 4 adult chaperones. We knew we had to be back to the lodge for meal times and bedtimes and trust games. But other than that, there were hundreds of acres to roam. And then to make this all seem even more like the setup of a classic teen horror movie, a uniformed Missouri State Ranger, you know, with a hat, rolled up to warn us about poisonous snakes in the woods, the copperheads. He said there were a lot of them this year, the snakes, and they were hungry, so they were crawling out from the deep woods in search of food. So we might see one, or 2, or more. If so, he said, stay away, do not provoke them, leave them alone, they are poisonous. I cannot emphasize this enough. And we all knew without him saying that the nearest hospital was at least an hour's drive away over a combination of dirt roads and 2-lane blacktop with a ton of potholes. It was a long way back to civilization and professional medical care. He said it was okay to kill one, a snake, if worst came to worst. They were overpopulated, so if we reduced the population, it wasn't a bad thing. As he left, he told us, have a nice day, kids. Have fun in the great outdoors. Sure, we will. Us and the hungry, poisonous snakes crawling out from the dead. Thank you, Mr. Ranger. But after he left, though, I sort of forgot about it, because, you know, we had lots of stuff to do and fun to have, and I wasn't planning on any exploratory ventures into the deep woods. So after breakfast on Saturday, my friend Dave and I decided we'd go to the lake and swim and canoe with everybody else. We set off from the lodge down the trail. It was a warm, sunny day, and after a long, cold Midwestern winter, the sun felt good to us. And apparently to the snake. The copperhead stretched right out across our only path through the woods. Now, I knew enough about snakes to know that it was cold-blooded. It was out there to warm up. You know, lying in the sunlight was essential for that to happen. And it was a big snake. I'm 6 feet and a half inch tall now, but then I was a foot shorter and quite a bit scrawnier. And my friend Dave was an inch or 2 shorter than me. The snake, 4 feet, which meant that it was nearly as tall as we were should it decide to stand up. And it knew we were there. It was hissing. It was pissed that we had disturbed its nap and invaded its territory. I thought, should we turn and run? Should I turn and run? Would it lunge at me and catch me with its venomous fangs before I had a chance to take even one step? Possibly. But I'd never been face to snout with a snake in the middle of nowhere with nothing between us but bare feet and cut-off shorts before. I had no idea what might happen. Adrenaline coursed through my newly teenage body, and I could think but one thing. Oh, crap. It was church camp, we said crap. One thing we did know, Dave and I, was that we couldn't take a path around the snake because that would lead us into the woods, and who knew how many more of these scaly, cold-blooded, beady-eyed creatures were coiled to strike hidden in the undergrowth. Here was this one right in front of us. The king of snakes, apparently, the one the size of a human teenage boy. Whether we wanted to or not, Dave and I were now playing the ultimate trust game. And just when I was ready to back up and make a run for it, Dave grabbed a rock about the size of a softball. He was ready to kill. I could see it in his eyes. This from the son of a church pastor. You know, you never know. David, Goliath, a serpent in the Garden of Eden, it all fits somehow. The ranger said we could kill these snakes if worse came to worse. Well, this was definitely worse, and it could be worse if we stood there any longer. Dave heaved the rock. It missed, thudded onto the ground, and rolled away, which made the snake even madder. It started hissing, baring its fangs, and it started to move toward us. It had come to worst. It was us or the snake. So I found a rock myself. I aimed and fired. Missed. Like by a lot. Way past. I would have been a horrible caveman. Dave grabbed another rock, moved closer, the crazy fool, hefted it, and it fell. Bam! Right behind the snake's head, right on its body, proving the value of his little league pitching experience that I did not share. The creature flipped and twisted again and flipped, and finally died. It was not pretty. There were guts. I threw one more rock just to make sure. And it hit, smack dab onto the unmoving, lifeless target. The king of snakes was dead, beheaded. We pumped our fists knowing we won the battle. We protected ourselves and our fellow youth groupers. And here's where it gets a little Lord of the Flies. Filled with the adrenaline of the kill, we found a fallen tree branch, picked up the snake's headless body, and carried it back to the lodge in his life, boasting to the assembled throng that we'd hunted and killed and brought back lunch. Copperhead sandwiches for everybody. Our chaperones and peers were properly impressed, as they should have been, at first. But later we were chastised for doing such a foolhardy thing. We might have been bitten, they said, and suffered serious complications, possibly resulting in death. True. But I countered, what if that snake had lived on to bite somebody? We took it out, so it couldn't. Fear is fight or flight, act or run away. We had to choose, and so we did. Our fear protected us. Our dark side, the part of us capable of killing, kept us alive. It protected us from the monsters in the woods. But what I remember most is that in the spring of my 13th year, on the cusp of manhood, my friend Dave and I fought a mighty serpent and lived to tell the tale.